In this video, I want to show you how to work collaboratively with the SLR Toolkit app and also the Eclipse RCP client. What you first need is a Git repository, and I show you here a small example on a local GitLab instance. I already created a repository called MT Study, so it's going to be about model transformations. And what you need to access this repository is an so-called access token, which you can create here via settings, access tokens, adding a new token, give it a nice name like MT Study, and then for this demo we will just have the validity until tomorrow. You have to select the developer role and give it read and write access, not for the registry but for the repository, and then you can create this access token. You should definitely save it for later. For our purposes here, we simply copy it to the clipboard. And now we can start in our app by saying, let's create a new local project with default files. And for these default files here, we add then finally the name, model transformations, add project. And then we can go into our project here and add new entries, manage our taxonomy, and also added all this information here, like adding, for example, a keyword here and saying, let's say, what is a nice model transformation approach? Let's use ATL. And then create keyword and edit project metadata. Now, if we want to push this to a remote repository, we can click here on commit and now have to provide the details. So we start off by the Git username. Then at this point we have to enter the token. Then we have to provide an email address. And finally, we have to add the repository's URL. And this is the typical HTTPS URL, which can be used here. So we now add the repository and now have all the information in our project. And now that we have it here, we can say, please push this information now to the remote repository. So by clicking on push, we get here the information that the push succeeded. So we can look now here that we indeed see, okay, our 3 files here have been added to the repository. We see our bib file, the SLR project file with the metadata, including the keywords like ATL, which we just added, and so on. Also our taxonomy, which is the initial one, is now here in this remote repository. Now, to continue working with the RCP client, we switch to that, and here we use now this feature import projects, select the Git and say projects from Git. Now here, of course, we have to go on and say, okay, we will clone some URI, which is exactly this one here. And yeah, that's it, what you have to do here. So clicking on next, it will fetch, it will find out, okay, there's the main branch and the remote name is origin. So let's simply continue this way. And we should now say, okay, let's import it as a general project because it comes from the Android app. So there is no project information yet. So import as general project, set it a name. And as soon as we've done that, we see already here that the initial taxonomy has been loaded, and switching here to the BibTeX entries, we see no BibTeX entries available yet. But we can now, for example, go here in our Project Explorer and have a look at the meta information. So we see the title, we see our keyword here, some statistics, and can now continue to work here. That's it for now. Goodbye.